The idea that if you've got things you don't want to think about and you try not to think about them, what happens? What happens if you try not to think about things that hurt, things that are hard? Well, two things happen. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Dr. Nick Analyzes. Today I'm going to listen to a Juice WRLD song called Wishing Well. Now, I've got to be real with you. I blind reacted to a Juice WRLD song called Lean With Me in the last batch of recordings that I did. It was the first time I've ever heard of Juice WRLD. It was the first song that I'd ever seen of Juice WRLD, and I absolutely loved it. Now, if you go and watch that video, you'll see that I kept talking about how worried I was for this person, that it felt like he was spiraling, like it was almost like crying out for help. And then in the comments of the video, I find out that Juice WRLD actually died from an overdose afterwards. And so I was really solemn, actually, for a few days. I was gutted, actually, because it just felt like he needed the right person to get through to him at that point. And that talented, young, raw and authentic artist would still be with us and still making a difference in the world. And so it felt a little bit weird, actually, to think that I had reacted to someone and almost like seen someone in the present moment that felt like they needed help. And then to find out afterwards they didn't get the help that they needed. And this person in real life had passed away from a drug overdose. And so it was. I was wondering, like, should I react to more of Juice WRLD, or shouldn't I react to more of Juice WRLD? Does it feel like profiting off, someone that's no longer with us? Is that weird? I haven't really figured out the answers to those questions yet. But what I did know is that Juice WRLD in Lean With Me was real and was authentic and had messages that were useful for those people out there that are suffering, especially with drug addiction and mental health issues. And given that this is a psychology channel, a channel to think about things from a psychology perspective, it felt like I might want to look at more of Juice WRLD stuff and react to it. I think it goes without saying that he creates good music. And so I'm going to listen to Wishing Well. And it'll be interesting to figure out where this fits with Lean With Me. All right, let's go for it.
I can't breathe, I can't breathe. 999. Waiting for the exhale. I toss my pain with my wishes in a wishing well. I can't breathe, I'm waiting for the exhale. Toss my pain with my wishes in a wishing well. Still no luck, but oh well. I still try even though I know I'm gon' fail. Stress on my shoulders like an anvil.
That was so clever then. Did you see that? So he started off by saying, I'm going to throw away my pain in a wishing well. Gosh. So I did my PhD on thought suppression. The idea that if you've got things you don't want to think about and you try not to think about them, what happens? What happens if you try not to think about things that hurt, things that are hard? Well, two things happen. The first thing that happens is you think about it more. So the things that you're trying not to think about, you end up thinking about those things more. Another thing that happens when you try your best not to think about things is you try to distract yourselves with things that will make you feel better in the moment. So like when you feel sad about something, you might eat 10 tubs of Ben and Jerry's, or you might go gambling, or you might, drink alcohol, or you might do drugs. Or these are things that in the short term, it's like, I don't want to feel this thing over here. I'm going to throw this pain down the wishing well. And to stop it from coming back up, I'm going to numb myself with these things over here. And so when you saw sort of like that wishing well, then he threw his pain in the wishing well and then it blew up. I'm not sure if he was a psychologist or if he was an academic psychologist working in a university. I'm sure he wasn't. Like, that's exactly what the research shows, which is when you try and throw your pain into a wishing well, it blows up in some way. It shows itself in some way. It makes your life worse in some way. Like, it either comes back and it hurts you, or you start doing silly things to be able to not feel those things. Or worse than all that, what you start to realize is, if I want to avoid my pain, all I've got to do is avoid going to places that cue my pain. And then what you do is your life just goes like this gradually, because anything can cue pain, and all of a sudden you're living a life where you're not doing a whole lot, and that is likely to be right at the heart of psychological angst. And so even already in Juice WRLD, already I'm looking at this video and I'm thinking, how clever is this guy? The fact that, you know, millions and millions of people would watch this. He's saying, throw your pain into a wishing well, because that's what the world tells you, right? You got a problem to solve. You just get rid of it. Just get rid of your thoughts and feelings that aren't very nice, as if that's possible. No, what happens is you throw them into a wishing well and they just blow up, because avoidance of our unwanted thoughts and feelings is never going to work as a way to move us forward properly in life. In fact, our unwanted thoughts and feelings, they just come along for the ride. And if you can learn to relate to them like quite flexibly, then you still get to live a life that's meaningful relative to a life that's filled with like bad behaviors, like drinking or alcohol or drugs, or too much of any one thing, food or whatever. And it means that you get to live a life where you're not just like avoiding loads of doing stuff for fear of pain in the service of not having pain. Like, it's really clever, the fact that he's done that in 41 seconds.
Perky got me itching like an anthill. Drugs killing me softly, Lord hell. Sometimes I don't know how to feel. Ring, ring, folk off from depression. You use my past and my memories as a weapon. On the other line, I talk to addiction. Speaking of the devil, all the drugs, I miss them. This can't be real, is it fiction? Something feels broke, need to fix it. I cry out for help, do they listen? I'ma be alone until it's finished. This is the part where I tell you I'm fine, but I'm lying. I just don't want you to worry. This is the part where I take all my feelings and hide them, cause I don't want nobody to hurt me.
Oh man, there's so much. There's so much stuff there that he's talking about, that when you study psychology and when you study people, you see it. You see what he's talking about, which is the one thing he said was, this is the part where I tell you I'm fine because I don't want to worry you. Gosh, like that accounts for so much suffering. That does. It's like in the book that I wrote, The Unbreakable Student, there's a picture in there of a girl with the words "I'm fine" tattooed across her forehead, because that's what we all do. We all walk around with the words "I'm fine" tattooed across our forehead, because we don't want to worry people, but we don't want to show people weakness either within our social circles. And of course that just exacerbates the pain. It means we can't share the suffering, and when we can't share the suffering, it's hard to heal the suffering. And so that was the one thing that he said there. There was something else that he said as well, which was really cool. It'll come back to me at some point. I'm sure it will. Right, I'll press play and maybe it'll come back.
Can't breathe, I'm waiting for the exhale.
That's it. It's come back to me. If you listen to the lyrics, he's predicting his death. And that's hard for me to process. He said like something like slowly getting me, and then he said the words like until it's finished or something like that. So here is someone who is gripped by drug addiction, cannot for the life of them see a way out of it, and who knows at this point, this is going to kill me. And the head fuck for that for me is, it did. It did. He predicted it. And then you think about Lean with Me and seeing that like spiral that was going on there, and that like cry for help. And it just really, what I wanted, right, was a video where he was predicting his own death, and then something happened that allowed him to figure it all out and to step out of the drug addiction, and for him to be like this character now in the world that helps other people recover from it. The reality is a load of people have exactly what he has, which is it feels like an impossible thing to get out of this, to get out of drug addiction. He's there and he's predicting his own death. And like that emotionally, after watching Lean With Me and then finding out afterwards that he was no longer around, it just makes me super sad. It's not that he doesn't want to live. He's not suicidal. And yet he knows this is going to kill him, and he feels he can't do anything about it. That's wild.
Pain with my wishes in a wishing well. Still no luck, but oh well. I still try even though I know I'm gon' fail. It's stress on my shoulders like an anvil. Perky got me itching like an anthill. Drugs killing me softly, Lord hell. Sometimes I don't know how to feel. Sometimes I don't know how to feel. Let's be for real. If it wasn't for the pills, I wouldn't be here. But if I keep taking these pills, I won't be here. Yeah, I just told y'all my secret. Yeah, it's tearing me to pieces. I really think I need them. I stopped taking the drugs and now the drugs take me. This is the part where I tell you I'm fine, but I'm lying. I just don't want you to worry. This is the part where I take all my feelings and hide them, cause I don't want nobody to hurt me. I can't breathe, I'm waiting for the exhale. Toss my pain with my wishes in a wishing well. Still no luck, but oh well. I still try even though I know I'm gon' fail. Stress on my shoulders like an anvil. Perky got me itching like an anthill. Drugs killing me softly, Lord hell. Sometimes I don't know how to feel.
Sometimes I don't know how to feel. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Sometimes I don't know how to feel. Feelings are funny, aren't they? Because it's like he's saying that as if he's got a choice. As if I could choose to feel some ways here. I just don't know which one to choose. But that's never the case with feelings. Feelings just sort of happen, right? They're like the clouds, like they come and they go and they come and they go, and we try to grasp them, we try to control them, but they're really hard to control. Which means that sort of like our feelings, they sort of like play like a radio in the background. But here he is saying, I don't know how to feel. Suggesting that like he's at his wit's end and he's numb to it all, you know. He knows things aren't right and he knows it's going to lead to the death of him. But, there's almost like learned helplessness, like he can't do anything about it. And so he doesn't feel sad or happy, he just feels nothingness. He just feels numb. He's reached a point where like he's on a path and there's nothing he can do to stop him from going down that path. That's how he felt at the time. And then of course, in loving memory of Jared Anthony Higgins or Juice WRLD, he was right. And it's so sad to think about, isn't it? I wonder what the trajectory was. Usually, right, drugs, they're not a means to an end, they're a response to suffering. So like you saw him on the phones early on in that song, he was like, I'm speaking to someone about depression, now I'm speaking to someone about addiction. Those two things, they go together, right? People, they have things that they don't like going on inside them. They have suffering. I wonder where the suffering came from. Like, what was it in Juice WRLD's history that led him to have suffering? And I tell you what, the one thing that Juice WRLD has got, which would have led to suffering, is he's good with language. He's smart. And when you're smart, you're more likely to have thoughts like, when you experience loss, for example, thoughts like, I'm never going to see that person again. You don't brush past things when you've got depth and when you've got layers. And he's got depth and layers, right? Which means that he will be sitting, looking at things that are hard to look at as he was growing up. But I wonder what it was in his history that led him to just not be sort of doing that great. And then what happens is he's not feeling that great. He thinks, I don't want to feel this way. I want to feel another way. I'm going to throw this pain in a wishing well, and I'm going to distract myself with these drugs over here. And then he's got a second problem. The problem isn't now that he's just down. The problem is the way that he's dealing with feeling down is now by taking an addictive substance that's going to consume him. And then he goes down that path for a few years or whatever, and he can't see his way out of it. And where did it start? It started with suffering. Just normal suffering, just the sort of suffering that we have as human beings. That's all that's happened here. Like, he's not like some rock superstar that is like doing this stuff for the love of life and the thrill of life. No, this is a response to suffering. And so it's just, you imagine someone would have been able to have grabbed him early on in this and say, you're suffering that you're feeling right now, it's fine, you can have it. You don't need to do unhelpful things to try to not have it. You can have it. And then all of a sudden that suffering will change over time as suffering changes over time. And then all of a sudden that suffering sort of passes. And at that point, he's not in a much bigger hole of addiction to drugs. Because that's what's happened. He's made the hole that he's in bigger in his response to suffering. Now, is it understandable? Yes, it is. Everyone responds to suffering by trying their best to not have it, and all that changes is the severity of how they attempt to deal with those things. Was it functional or useful response to suffering? No, it wasn't. I'm gutted for him that no one managed to sort of like give him that angle on suffering, give him that way out of suffering, such that he found himself in a place where here he was predicting his own death because it had such a grip on him. The delivery of the song was wicked. It was raw, it was authentic, it was catchy, it was really good. But like, I never really, at the moment with Juice WRLD, I can't get past the fact that he was suffering a whole lot, that he got addicted to drugs, and that he died. That consumes the way that I watch this. So it just makes me feel sad, but it also makes me feel like he's shining a light on something that a lot of people find hard. And so there's something giving about doing this sort of work. That he's given something to the world. He's given something to those people out there that are addicted to drugs, that have family members that are addicted to drugs, that work with people who are addicted to drugs. Because he's shining a light and he's adding clarity to what that experience is, which just helps everybody. It helps the practitioner be more empathetic, helps the family member be more empathetic. It helps the person who's suffering from a drug addiction be more self-compassionate when they mess up. Because I tell you what, people that are addicted to drugs, they've got stupid amounts of self-loathing. They hate themselves. When really all it ever was a normal response to suffering, which is, I need to not have this suffering. That's all it ever was. An understandable, normal response to suffering. All right. Well, if there are other Juice WRLD videos that are good to react to, then put them in the comments, and maybe we can get to them in the next batch, because he's such an interesting character, and he's so got his finger on the human condition that it makes for a great psychological analysis. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody, and take care of yourselves. That was like just as intense, really, as Lean with me. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like seeing a car crash happen really slowly and thinking, this ain't gonna end well for this fella. Do you know what I mean? Whilst also seeing how much talent he's got and how much he's got to offer the world, and then it's just been such a waste, you know. So it's hard to watch it.
It's one of those things where he's incredibly articulate with his emotions. He's very self-aware, and like what you said earlier, he's also very intelligent. And that trio can form your own purgatory.
Yeah, that's what I want. You've just put the words to that I think I wanted. That's what I was trying to say.
Because that it is, because you sit, you ponder, you contemplate, you reflect, and that takes a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people are willing like that, they need to think about it, they need to articulate it, they need to understand it, and then you have this vicious cycle of not actually escaping from it.
Yeah.
And it's I'm the same as you. When I watch some of his music, or I listen to it, because I've been listening to a bit more of it.
Yeah.
It's difficult to get past that point now.
Yeah.
Because I know that he's passed away.
Yeah.
Whereas before we were listening to this for the first time, it was just like,
this is good. Yeah.
This is really, really good.
Yeah.
There's hope for and then you reflect back on that and you think, Christ, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Even though there was nothing that you and I could ever have done to impact his life, there's still that feeling of,
I wish someone could have.
Wish someone, and now that you know that there's not, and you just got that, and that is what suffering is. It's the unavailability to do anything about an instance or something that's happened, and you just have no control or impact to do anything about it. And it's really, really hard to put yourself in that position. But that's probably why he created his own purgatory.
Yeah,
because of his intelligence and his articulation.
Well, I mean, he didn't really have much of a choice about his own intelligence or even his self-awareness and stuff. I think, like, some people, they're almost like they try to have answers to questions that haven't got answers. They try to make sense of things for topics that you can't make sense of, and they get lost in it. They get lost. They jump down a rabbit hole and they get lost to it. Whereas, like, I'm a lot more pragmatic. I'm a lot more like, I'll think about this, and it's gonna bring me some discomfort to think about, and then I'm gonna pull a full stop after it, and I'm gonna move on, because I know that I can't. Yeah, that will consume me if I go too far into that place. I just think he's like you said. I think, like, being smart and self-aware is, and, like, philosophical in nature, having layers and depth. That can lead to a place of suffering.
And he's also a creative. Yeah. So exactly, a creative is always very highly critical of their own work. Yeah. So he's probably highly critical of his own emotions. Yeah. And it's a shame. A real shame.